You're listening to the Travis Makes Money podcast presented by GoHighLevel.com. For a free 30-day trial of the best all-in-one digital marketing software tool on the planet, just go to GoHighLevel.com/Travis. What's going on, money makers? Welcome back to another episode of the Travis Makes Money podcast, where it's our mission to help you make more money. Today on the show, we'll be talking a little bit about personal development with my new friend, Nathan Lancry. Nathan is a highly accomplished entrepreneur, thought leader, and author with profound insights into personal development. An Ohio native with a hard upbringing, Nathan was able to transform his life from nothing to a highly successful business leader through the deep work of personal psychology. Stoked to talk to Nathan about some of these things today, because this is where it starts, guys. It starts in your mind. You will always be limited by what you believe that you can do. So before we jump into the convo, though, if you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur using multiple softwares for marketing, email, forms, calendars, SMS, all the above, then you're probably doing it wrong. You owe it to yourself to check out High Level's all-in-one platform for marketing and automation so that you can get back to focusing on what you know how to do best. They've created it's amazing tool that's somehow as simple as it is capable. So join over 3 million other businesses. Go to GoHighLevel.com/Travis for a free 30-day trial. GoHighLevel.com/Travis to see what High Level can do for you. Nathan, what's up, man? Welcome to the show.
Tell me something good, man.
We're here, so that's good. I've always loved connecting with people who are doing really cool things in the world, especially when they come from a background like yours, which I'm excited to jump into.
All right, man. Well, go ahead. I like to talk to you about whatever it is that's on your mind, and let's get started.
Yes, sir. Well, number one, first off, I love asking this question because it tells people exactly where people started. Tell me how you made your first dollar ever, Nathan.
First dollar ever. Okay, so see, I worked in a construction job site when I was 9 years old, picking up scraps of wood and debris. The guys would rip cement bags, and the bags would blow around the yard. And I was the guy that cleaned it up.
Nice. At 9 years old, you were basically
nine
picking
years
up
old, man.
trash for construction jobs
Yeah, exactly.
and getting paid like $2 an hour or something.
Probably so. I think that might be high, but
Yeah. You got paid in pizza,
hey,
probably.
listen, don't compliment me that much, okay?
Oh man. And then tell me how you made your most recent dollar now.
Well, see, my first deal was a case of oil. So I bought a case of oil, little household oil cans. Maybe you've seen them before, like a red and white can and
Mhm.
like a little red tip on it. You could lift it. So anyway, I bought a case of that, you see, and I took it to a local hardware store, and I made about roughly for a round number around $20 on that box of oil. That was my first deal.
Wow. And so that was what kind of ignited the idea.
There's a lot of things I think they kind of ignite the idea, but the idea I think was born and then the deal was made. See, so
Yeah.
and and I rode my bicycle to make the deal. I went to this auction, this warehouse that was going on a business, see, and they auctioned everything off, and I had $5 in it, and I bought the oil for $5.
Love it.
Yeah, it was
Awesome.
my first. Yeah.
Was this something that was kind of innate in you, Nathan? Like this entrepreneurial desire to make money or the ability to see things differently?
Yeah, it's a great question because, it's one of those questions I keep alive in my mind to today. And I'm not sure I have the answer to that.
Yeah.
I do know that there's a desire. And the one thing I certainly don't want is that desire to ever extinguish.
Hmm.
So in a lot of ways, I keep that question alive.
What were your parents doing growing up?
Let's see, they were being mom and dad, what mom and dad would do.
Yeah. So what type of careers?
So my mom was a stay-at-home mom, which is
Okay.
a very, very difficult job. And she did a nice job at that. And my father was an immigrant, came from overseas and came here, and he worked hard and he did what he had to do to make ends meet. Just a hardworking guy.
So you kind of saw that example from the beginning of two people working hard to try to figure things out.
Yeah, and it's interesting about examples. Whether we're aware of it or not, there's examples everywhere we go. So whether you're at a bus stop, you're in an airplane, you're in a school bus, you're in a classroom setting, we're witnessing and taking in examples in every avenue of life. It's not just one forum that we're going to pick this up.
Did you have any siblings?
Yeah, I have one brother, one full brother, and a half sibling as well. But my brother and I, we're about a year apart,
A
and
year. Wow. Okay.
yeah, yeah, we grew up together, and we did a lot of things together.
Did he end up doing the entrepreneurship path as well, or no?
He decided to, he was actually more of a martial arts guy.
Oh,
And
interesting.
yeah. Mhm.
Okay. That's what I always find fascinating, man, is like you can have two people that grow up in the same home. I mean, a year apart is crazy. But even being anywhere from 2, 3, 4 years apart, like sometimes it's like, well, okay, well, we're 8 years apart. It's like, okay, well, it makes sense that you're different people because mom and dad were different when they were raising each of you. But to grow up almost like twins in the same house from the same area with the same influences to both
Yeah.
take wildly different paths. That's what always fascinates me, man. That's why I asked that question to begin with. Is like, was this innate? And it clearly was something that was inside of you that you couldn't help but listen to as you continue to get older.
Right,
What
right.
was entrepreneurship the way that you've always made money? Did you kind of get out of high school? Let me just get a job and see how things go, or
So I'm not sure I understand your question.
so when you first came out of high school, did you take a traditional path immediately, or did you already start like I'm going to start a business? I don't want to go work for somebody.
Well, a traditional, are you saying traditional in the standpoint of like graduating high school and then, going off to college, et cetera?
Correct. And then getting like a job, job, 40 hours
Yeah.
a week, 9 to 5. I have a boss and I have a schedule and that stuff.
So I think one piece is maybe a little atypical. I dropped out of high school, so I didn't complete high school. So that piece may not be your typical pathway that one may would expect, right? So to answer your question, no, I didn't take the typical path.
So what did you do when you dropped out? Like, how did you make money?
So first of all, I was in construction, as I mentioned, from nine. So from the age of 9 years old to 17 years old, I worked in construction. From there, then I took a different path into the car business.
Oh,
And I
interesting.
began to, yeah, I sold cars. I sold Dodges in Mayfield Heights, Ohio.
Got it. Got it. How long did you do that for?
I did that for, let's see, I've been in the automotive industry now for 32 years.
Wow. Okay. So tell me some of the lessons you learned as a sales guy in a car lot that maybe have still, served you to this day.
Be patient. Don't jump to conclusions. Even when you know there's a chance you could be 1% off.
Hmm.
Make sure you pay attention to the details and really understand. And sometimes not all pieces and parts are ready to be delivered. So it's important to be able to stay in that zone of the unknown until everything comes to life. Because if
Yeah.
not, you can miss out on a big opportunity.
Yeah, you don't want to be the guy making assumptions based on like what the person's wearing or what they drove up in or, any number of other psychological factors that could contribute to your decision in your mind of whether or not they're capable of actually buying a car from you.
Well, you're talking about a bias and a prejudice. I'm talking
Yeah.
about something a little bit different, right?
Okay.
So prejudice and a bias is, I mean, we certainly don't want to do that. I mean, that's a fool's game, right? I'm talking about something more where you see information in front of you and you're convinced, right? Like there's an old Chinese proverb. I believe nothing I hear and half of what I see. Nothing what I hear and half of what I see.
Yeah.
Because we see it, it may not be true. There might be more to the story. There might be a bigger picture, might be a greater element. There's specifics and nuances that we have to factor in and wager in on. Right now, we could
Sure.
easily sit here and begin to say, well, I've got these reasons and justifications why things may or may not be. That's where I think where you're talking is bias. And I think the bias at that point can haunt you and create this ambivalence and just stuck in between somewhere, not really sure which direction you really want to go. I think it's more about really understanding what's the truth, and more importantly, what is the truth, and seeing that truth and making decisions based on that, not on a bias, not on a prejudice, not on some preconceived notion of what your feelings are desiring, but more importantly, what are the facts, and make a decision as it factually lines up to what you're trying to accomplish.
We've done a lot of work now for somebody who's dropped out of high school and did not take the traditional especially education path. You've now done a lot of work in trying to understand psychology, and you have a book, The Mercury Mind, which
Right?
teaches your method through a new approach to personal transformation using transcendental psychology. Can you define transcendental psychology, and what exactly pulled you in that direction to make you really want to write a book about this topic?
So when you think about where we are today as an individual, right? Where we are and where we are, and then we have this desire of where we actually want to go. There's a discomfort in that. There's a gnawing at the brain that says, I've got to figure this out. I got to figure it out. I don't know how I'm going to do it. How is it going to come into play? And I see the torture chamber that people begin to put themselves in as they're trying to figure out how they're going to get there. So the first thing is you got to look at, why do I want it? A lot of times we think we know what we want, but we really don't. It's some imaginary place and space in our mind that if we hit this checkbox, hey, you know what, man, I did it. I'm a man. I can make this happen. And I'm the best there ever was. And then you finally get there and you actually do it. But that feeling, it's still there. It's still gnawing at you, right?
Yeah.
There's this unsatisfactory element to what it is that you did versus what you actually thought you wanted. And I just see so many people tortured with that.
Yeah.
And
Torture is the right word too.
yeah, and it's torture. And there was a long period of time in my career where I felt that torture. And I thought, through my writings, there's an idea, right, that I could share with someone. And if they believe in that idea and they see that idea and they think maybe there's a way that they can connect at that level, it could help them learn how to use the Mercury Mind book or any of the other two books that I authored, which is Foresight 2020, right, and A Book of Matches. And those three books work in unison, see, to where you come up with an idea and you begin to think in terms of what are the techniques, what are the tools, what are the ideologies that I can use to help me manage through that unknown. Because see, to me, it's in that space of the unknown that allows you to really accomplish what you want. Because ultimately what we want is we want to feel accomplished. We want to feel a part of something. We want to feel like we did it. Now, the accomplishment itself is just a report card, or it's just a trophy, or it's
The scoreboard. Yeah.
some scoreboard, right, that we could use to measure if we did it or we didn't do it. But why is it important to you? So these books are designed to work with you closely and more of why do you actually want to do it?
Mm.
Because the idea is for meaningful. So you think back to what I'm about to share with you, everybody's heard before. You go January 1st, January 2nd, the gyms are loaded. By week number 3, they're thinned out. By February 15th, it's back to the old crew,
Yeah. Right. All the same familiar faces that were there in November. Yeah.
Exactly, right, exactly. And why does that happen is because people want to get there for the wrong reason.
Mm.
Ones that stay are there for the right reason. It becomes a lifestyle. So what I would say is that learning is a lifestyle. Learning is a continuum. It doesn't ever end. It's something we always want to do. And I would suggest learning about things you have no interest in.
Mm.
See, a lot of times what happens is we have this bias again. We have this desire and this dream. And I want to, for example, some people may say, I really want to learn the stock market. So I'm going to become an expert at learning everything there is to know about the stock market.
Mm.
My advice to you, if you do, go learn about how to plant flowers. Learn how flowers are, how you can create a world of flowers, because business is really the same. You have to have soil, you have to have a seed, you have to have nurture, right? You have to have fertilize, et cetera, sunlight, watering, et cetera. In other words, you have to tend to it. Well, any business model is really like gardening, like agricultural.
Mm.
So the agricultural era of our history really does play in a lot to what we do today in a
Yeah.
different format. Maybe, in my office here, I don't have a bunch of farmers over here, and we're not, planting corn, but we are in a sense, because what we're doing is we're taking the opportunities we have and we're treating it as such. We take an idea, it starts off as a seed, and then how do we get that seed to grow? How do we get it to develop? How do we get it to become what we want it to actually be?
Yeah.
But my biggest thing to really be mindful of, what seed are you planting, right? If you plant an acorn, you're going to grow an oak tree. If you plant corn, you're going to get corn. So if you want green beans, make sure you plant green beans.
Yeah.
Don't plant carrots.
And don't plant something because somebody else told you that's the thing you should be planting.
unless if that's what you want.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, yeah. That was kind of I love the idea of getting people to really interrogate their reasoning,
Yeah.
because a lot of times you'll figure out that it's not really the path that you wanted to take, and then you're left with the decision. But at least once you're aware of it, you can make the decision from the point of being aware of what you actually want. Is like a bad case scenario for me, man, is like you put in all the work to climb a mountain, you get all the gear and you have the electrolytes and you have the water and you start climbing the mountain and you climb, you get to the peak, and then you realize that it wasn't the mountain that you wanted to climb.
Yeah.
And then you got to, but the whole idea is that like the work is going to be required regardless of which mountain you decide to climb. Like it's not like it's easier or better or different. It's like it's still going to require that
Sure.
much effort to go do the thing that you actually really want to do. So the problem to me lies in the people who figure it out when they're halfway up the mountain, because
Yeah.
that's the decision point where it's like, oof, sunk cost fallacy starting to really pull you in the direction of just continuing to climb this one because I'm already halfway up. I
Right.
can't imagine starting to climb all the way back down this thing, drive over to
Right.
the other one and start over from scratch. That would be crazy.
Right.
It's a decrease, it's a willing decrease in status to
Mm.
make the decision to switch. But I think that you'll ultimately find more happiness and fulfillment in search of that greater purpose than you will by just continuing to do the thing that you think you're supposed to be doing because somebody told you that's what you're supposed to do when you were 17.
Yeah. In line with what you're saying, whatever you're going after, whatever you want to do, all the little daily duties that are required to be completed in order to accomplish that, you have to enjoy those too.
Hmm.
It's kind of like some people enjoy boating, some people don't enjoy boating.
Yeah.
Some people like going on a boat ride, but they really don't like boating. So if you're a boater, you enjoy, cleaning the boat, you enjoy cleaning the deck, you enjoy tidying everything up and organizing. There's a whole process, right?
Yep.
And then you go for a boat ride. Well,
Yep.
business is similar, right? So you have to, there's this whole preparation. You have to be prepared. You have to take these elements that go into, your business. And if it's making phone calls, if it's canvassing neighborhoods, if there's digital activity, if it's in production, if it's in design, if it's in marketing, all the ingredients to make a business click and tick, you have to find your lane that you're really into and let that become your passion.
Yeah, I love that thought experiment to write out all the things that you do in a given day. And it's like, look, there are going to be some things about anything that you don't love doing, but that's why I love the frame. I don't know if you know Mark Manson. He's a author of a couple books that I really like. Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck and Everything is Fucked. He likes to use a lot of colorful language, but the truth
Sounds
in the
like a colorful guy.
books. What's that?
Sounds like a colorful guy.
Yeah, the information, the content in the books is really great, and that's one of the things that he asks people is like, what's the shit sandwich that you want to eat? Because like all success is going to require activity that isn't going to be enjoyable 100% of the time. But if you can find the thing that you're willing to do because you still love doing the thing ultimately, you'll have an edge. What's the thing that to most people, or Naval puts it this way, what's the thing that you do that feels like work to somebody else, or that looks like work to somebody else but feels like play to you? And do that, sit in that thing, because it's like we talked about earlier, it's going to be required either way.
Sure.
So you may as well enjoy the little things along the way, or it's going to be a long, lonely, difficult, struggle-full journey instead of a beautiful one.
Well, the other side to it too is it's not going to work, right? So if you walk into doing, in other words, if there's a 10-step program that someone needs to follow in order to be successful, if their energy is that they see step 1 through 8 as a chore and they kind of like 9 and 10, they're not going to even get to 9 and 10
So true.
because the chore and the energy and the attitude, and you're going to be short-tempered. You're going to be disrespectful, not by purpose,
Mhm.
but you just don't feel like dealing with it. And when you don't feel like dealing with something, it's going to wear on you. It's going to take a toll on you.
Yeah. The consistent work is just the barrier to entry. It's just like that's just what's required. You have to do it. But if you don't love the work enough to consistently iterate on that consistency, then that's how you end up with the person who's got 20 they've got 20 years of doing something but only 1 year of experience. It's basically just the same year lived 20 years over and over and over again. It's like, well,
Yeah.
just because you've done something that long does not mean that you're proficient at it. You've been phoning it in the whole time.
Yeah.
You haven't actually enjoyed any of it. You haven't gotten better at it. You just do the thing. And that's not exactly how we're built. Then you wonder why you're purposeless. You wonder why you're floating. You wonder why you're unhappy or unfulfilled. And it's like, well, it's because you're filling like the majority of your waking hours doing something that brings nothing to your life except for a paycheck. And that's not
So
how we're
that's
built to be.
so that's the industrial age mindset,
Hmm.
right? So the industrial age was about creating factories where people had a specific task. And if you look at the education system in our country, it's built around the industrial age,
Yeah.
right?
Churning
Kid
out
comes
factory
to school.
workers.
Yeah, kid goes to school early in the morning. He gets a little bit of a break at around 10 o'clock. He gets his lunch and then he goes home. And then he goes back the next day and he does the same thing. And then they groom you to do that for 13 years, including kindergarten, right?
Hmm.
So now all of a sudden you've got this whole training, right? This mindset. And then you get a job and you got to come to work. But instead of going to work at 7 a.m., you got a little break, man. Now they're gonna let you come into work at 8. Right? So good. And you get that little bit of a break you're allowed to take, right? And then you go home at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, something like that. And then you do it all over again. And then come the weekend and holidays, you get off just like school. And then when you're 65 years old, you get a chance to kind of do what you always dreamed of doing. You know
Yeah. Just put it
what I'm
off for like
saying?
35 years. Yeah. You'll be fine.
Exactly.
You'll totally be happy doing that for sure.
And that's okay. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. But when you're doing it, make sure you do it because that's what you want to do. And
Yes.
when you're doing it, do it the best that you can where you find joy in it. Because to wake up Monday morning, actually, even strike that, Sunday evening, you're dreading going to work Monday. You wake up Monday, you hate being there. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 95% of the time you're miserable. You can't wait to Friday night, and time flies when you're having fun. And Friday is connected to Monday morning. And you don't even remember Saturday and Sunday because you're dreading Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a way to live, man. I appreciate the work that you're doing in the world, man. The Mercury Mind. Where can people go to? Is there a specific place you want people to go to get a copy of this?
Amazon. Yeah, Amazon.
Amazon. Okay.
Yeah,
So if
learn.
you guys know here on the show, I tell you all the time, probably sick of hearing me say it, but you should have an unlimited budget for books. Anytime we recommend a book on the show, just go buy the book, add it to the library, put it on your shelf, get it in front of your face. And
There's recordings too. There's actually audio versions as well.
Oh, great, great.
Yeah, all three books have an audio.
So if you are curious about some of the work that Nathan is doing in this transcendental psychology work and how it could potentially help you find more meaning, greater purpose, to reconnect with the why behind the career that you have in front of you, then please go pick up a copy of the Mercury Mind. Go follow Nathan and check out some of the stuff that he's putting out. Nathan, I appreciate you coming on. Let's move into the last segment here. Just a couple quick random questions, quick random answers.
Sure.
Ready?
Yeah.
What profession other than your own do you think that it would have been fun to master?
I think I appreciate the field of law. I
Hmm.
think law is an art and a science. And I
If,
appreciate that world. Yeah.
if you could sit on a park bench with someone, past or present, and chat for an hour, who would it be?
Jack Welch, General Electric CEO.
How do you like to consume information best? Books, audiobooks, blogs, podcasts, YouTube?
Books, audiobooks, all the above. I wouldn't say at best. I think they're all important because you're engaging different senses of your body and how you're incorporating this information into your system.
What's a book on money, entrepreneurship, business that you would recommend people read? Obviously, besides the Mercury Mind.
Sure. I would say any book by Ray Dalio.
So true. So dense with information. What is your go-to pump-up song, Nathan, if you have one?
We don't have one.
All right. What is something that you are not very good at?
Sports. If you want, I get the highest score in golf than anyone you're ever going to meet. I probably get 200, probably score like 200 on 9 holes.
It sounds like we would be good golfing buddies then.
Yeah.
As we get everything wrapped up here, man, where can people go to get more from you?
Get more from me?
Yes, sir.
NathanLancry.com. If they have questions, they're more than welcome to fill in the field, and I'll be happy to get back to them.
NathanLancry.com. That's
That's right.
Lancry, NathanLancry.com. Go check out some of the stuff that Nathan's putting out. Pick up a copy of his book. Tell him you heard about him here on the show. Nathan, I appreciate you for taking the time to do this and to share something with our audience today. Everybody else listening, remember, money only solves your money problems. But it is a little bit easier to solve the rest of your problems if you got some money in the bank. So let's solve that problem first here on the Travis Makes Money podcast. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll catch you next time. Peace out.